In these crazy times, I can't help but wonder, did the Romans know that their empire was crumbling? Or did life go on? As senators squabbled and barbarians massed, did citizens go to work, oblivious to the rumbling? As tides of change washed over their walls and all they had created began to fall, did the accountant count coins? Did the baker bake bread? What does the apocalypse look like? Is it the flash of missiles in the night sky? Is it a plague of frogs and a blood-red Nile? Or is it an entire species in denial? On Rapa Nui, after the trees were gone, people's diets became unconventional, consisting of rats and basic vegetables. But did they even know what they were missing? How can you miss a delicious fish if you have never been fishing to taste its deliciousness? If you're born after the last coconut has died, then your rat tastes fine. So I wonder if we've crossed the line, but don't know it's too late. So now we're chopping down the trees while history turns the page. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigden eating the pizza. I'm Guy Pizza. So that was really good because I was like, oh, great. Like, normally I'd be like, oh, shit, I've heard this poem a million times. But this time I was like, this is brilliant. I get to eat another whole piece of pizza through this.
Yep.
This is good stuff.
I had to mute you. I had to mute you because I could hear all the crunching. So I
was kind of hoping you'd leave that in. ASMR.
Yeah, ASMR. What's that?
The sound of things happening, such as me eating pizza, or like more. It's more like, you know, the unwrapping of something.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
The sound of leather going on something. People make a lot of money on it on YouTube.
I see. Oh,
ASMR.
yeah. I'm with you. I have seen a little bit of that stuff. Yes. Well, welcome along to the show. I began with a poem. That one is called Romans. It's one of my poems, and the reason why is because I need some screen time. I need some stage time. I need some performance time because I've got a poetry performance, my first one in 2 years or something, on Tuesday for Climathon, a Waikato-based climate change-related event, online event because of COVID, that is getting like-minded people together who all kind of want to act to counter this climate crisis that we're currently facing, the largest existential threat humanity has ever faced. And so I got invited along to do a poem, and that was my rehearsal. I'm going to do that same poem again on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. So if you liked it, I'll share the link on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. Come watch the real thing.
Bloody good on you.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm back on the wagon. Right.
So I do apologise for eating this pizza. But
shout out to
Giant Pumpkin New Zealand.
Yeah.
Says, guys, makes me hungry and all the good food. Look.
Yeah, that's not good food.
I didn't want to have to do it, but
it's a home pizza. Oops. Oh, great.
My video's gone.
Your video's gone. It's you, because it's coming into Zoom as well.
Don't worry. I know what the problem is.
I've got colour bars. Yep. I've got colour bars. Well, so shout out to Giant Pumpkin NZ. Giant Pumpkin NZ is in a roundabout way involved in my poetry performance next week, because Giant Pumpkin NZ, also known as Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast, was associated with the TEDx Ruakura 2016, where I performed at a TEDx event, and he was involved with that. And then through that event, I got this poetry gig next week because somebody contacted me through that. So shout out to Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast, and shout out to Tyler Adams as well on the live stream. Tyler Adams is the man. He has been creating some hashtag shorts highlights for us to post on the YouTube channel. So he's been taking highlights from this show and cutting them together in the horizontal format, the portrait format, and then cutting from between you and me as we speak, depending on what's going on. And yeah, they look very cool, and it's great promotional material for the show. So thank you, Tyler. Shout out to Tyler, the VFX creator.
Yeah, appreciate that, Tyler. Thank you very much. And I was actually going to get him to do, or ask him to do, I should say, not get him to do.
Politely request.
He could have easily said no. I was going to ask him if he wanted to do some green screen visual effects for something that we filmed. We had to do some, because we're remote, we had to do some high protocol COVID filming. High protocol, high safety, everything down to the T, everything safe as houses, 2 meter distance approximately between us at all times, remote filming for you to do a cameo in front of that green screen.
Because we are doing this podcast via Zoom again, despite the fact that you are 3 meters that way. We are doing this via Zoom again because we are in different bubbles until your girlfriend goes across the COVID border. Because my flatmate is unvaccinated. I'm double vaxxed, of course. I'm a firm, I comprehend the science and I understand the scientific method. And so I, of course, have got the vaccine because I understand the stakes and I understand the benefits. However, my flatmate is not. Is not doing any of those things, doesn't know those things, and she does not have the vaccine and has no set date in mind to get the vaccine. So here I am, can't hang out with my bestie.
I mean, it could be tomorrow that she could do it. She could do it.
She could do it. She could do it. Yep, she could go get it tomorrow. In 15 minutes it would take her to get the first jab. And then 3 weeks from now she'd get the second one, which would mean that Christmas is not ruined. At the moment, she's the Grinch who stole Christmas, because if she doesn't get vaccinated soon, she won't be double vaxxed by Christmas. So I've basically then got to either not have an orphan's Christmas, which is the current plan, to have an orphan's Christmas, light the fire in the backyard, have a barbecue, make one of my famous sangrias, and have a wee, shindig for the Auckland orphans who don't have anywhere else to go on Christmas. And so that's the current plan, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how we handle that. Do I just invite people and say, hey, by the way, there's also going to be an anti-vaxxer here. There's going to be one anti-vaxxer. Come at your own peril.
Yeah, well, I won't be there.
Why not?
Well, because, again, my girlfriend has to do multiple trips across the border. I believe she'll be back at that time, but that she will be having to go away very soon afterwards. And again, we'll have to maintain this very high level of, only coming into she's been working pretty hard to, she sends me out to do the shopping, and really does not engage with anyone because she's just taken her COVID test, which is negative, of course, so that she could travel. She was actually planning to travel today. Those plans have actually been delayed due to waiting on some equipment that has not come through yet. But if she's back for Christmas, she will be going again very soon after Christmas, which means that, we'll be watching out the window as you fire up the Barbie, mate. I'll give you a little wave.
Well, yeah, unless
give you the thumbs up.
But what if you guys are not going to have your own Christmas thing, are you? You're having a Christmas thing anyway, just next door.
Oh, well, you know what we could do? I could invite all the vaxxed people.
Yeah.
And you're not invited.
Yeah.
Your side's not invited. But no, we wouldn't do that. I don't.
Well, that's good, because otherwise we'd be competing for guests.
We would be.
All of our best friends would be really torn.
Well, the issue too is that normally the guests would be like, "Sweet, I'll go to theirs for a while, then I'll go to the other one
Pop
for a
over
while."
next
But they
door.
can't do
Yeah.
that. They can't do that. So
Well, they could, but they'd have to start
not
at
good.
yours and then end at mine and not go
That's
back to
true.
yours. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually true. They could
Yeah.
do that. But we have also had an announcement from the government that
Well,
apparently
also having a bunch of people at your house, if the point is to avoid, even if they're all double vaxxed, having a bunch of people at your house is still a risk in terms of the crossing the border thing.
and in fact currently illegal.
Well, yeah, that too. The thing
But
is,
we're
that
assuming that
I'm
we're
only
assuming
going to
we've gone down a level.
I'm just only going to invite men, and then that way they can just pee in the yard, right?
Right.
And then they don't have to go into my house. So it's the equivalent of an
That's
outdoor
true.
meeting. They can come down the side of the house, hang out in the backyard, and they all just pee. All us dudes will just stand around peeing and talking about fire. It'll be great fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Christmas is going to be great this year, guys.
Yeah. Giant Pumpkin says throw a sausage through the window.
I'll be
Why
throwing
not?
my sausage through the window and I'm taking a pee in the backyard.
And we haven't started the timer for Jab Chat,
No.
but we should probably hit the timer. The timer button goes now, and also it should be noted that they've been told that we will be able to travel for Christmas out of Auckland. Now, that's a nice thing to look forward to and think about potentially, but I also wonder, is that really going to happen? But
Doesn't make too much sense, does it?
Well, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to go to bring, many opportunities of the COVID hotspot to spread out to the rest of the, like I'll take it to Dunedin, see the family. They'll share it around down there, and Dunedin.
Next thing you know, we'll all be immunized, one way or another.
It is kind of a strange thing to speculate on if that will really be the case, but I feel like it's, the government understands we're all tired of sitting at home, and we want to get out and about. But it does kind of mean that it's also like saying, so you guys can go out, that's cool, and you can give COVID to everyone else. Like, obviously, take all the protocols, do the vaccination, do everything else. Most likely you will have to be vaccinated to take those trips. But they're still sort of suggesting like, then maybe obviously that will spread it to some degree. And we're getting into that living with it phase.
Well,
But we are also 90% vaccinated first dose now, all of New Zealand. So that's a cool little metric that was announced. So I'm happy with that.
What? 90% of all of New Zealand? I don't think so.
First dose.
Oh, first dose. 90% first dose of all of New Zealand. Because Auckland was already at that. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Well,
so I should clarify, just shy of 90%. Just shy. So probably 88, 89. So I don't want to get fact checking. I don't want people to accuse me of doing my own research on this.
Yeah.
So
for the first dose, according to Richard Lambeth, the first dose means nothing, but that's not true, obviously. It does protect you to some percentage, just not as high a percentage as being double vaxxed. But this is what it is now. This is the new plan. The new plan is everybody's going to get the virus or everybody's going to be vaccinated. You've just got to decide which team you're on. Team take the painless, quick, easy vaccine, or team get the deadly virus and see if you survive it. It's a real what's the word? There's a
Sophie's
word.
Choice.
Yeah, is that? What's that? What's Sophie's Choice?
It's basically from a movie where two equally tragic things would happen by making one of these choices.
Yeah,
it's a real Sophie's Choice. So either you can't shout about pro-choice anymore, or you don't get COVID. If you do, it's much milder, and you don't risk the health of your loved ones. And
you don't kill people around you. You selfish twit.
So yeah, I guess it's up to you with pro choices out there. What choice seems more appealing?
You pro-disease people. You pros diseases. Pro-diseases. I wanted to shout out to Tommy Schwela, who tunes in from Wellington. Tommy says that he loves jab chat. He says, with capitals, more jab chat. Okay, so there you go. So I'm sorry to Jamie Oxley, cruising the outback, but, not everybody agrees. And in fact, 9 out of 10 people in New Zealand don't agree with the anti-vax, sort of stance, evidently, by this now 90%, this new 90% number. Good on them.
Yeah, so
good on you, New Zealand. You know what it is? Sometimes you look at the media and you get all this fear and hate, and you look at the media and you're like, oh shit, everybody's protesting and nobody's getting the virus. Nobody's getting the vaccine. But that's not true. That's not true. There's a huge silent majority that's not bitching about Jacinda. They're just getting on with their day, and they're just getting the vaccine, and they're just getting their shit done. Right? And so what we hear is this vocal minority of, outspoken, ill-informed people, when the majority of us are getting on with it, and really the media is sort of blowing out of proportion things like, protest activity and stuff like that. The other day I was watching a live stream with Jacinda Ardern. Shout out to Jacinda. I know she's listening. And there was one guy who had gone into the journalist huddle and was asking questions, but he wasn't a journalist. And that's not how press conferences work. It's not a fucking free-for-all. You've got to be an accredited journalist to be a part of the thing.
You can't just wander in, scratching your ass, and throw a few questions out to Auntie Cindy. That's
exactly.
Not how it works.
That's not how it works, and it's never worked.
You can't do a bunch of research. You can't do a bunch of your own research on YouTube. come gas to the gills on anti-vax sentiment. Stumble in, fucking hiking up your grey track pants and throwing out fucking nonsense. You do have to fucking go to be an accredited journalist, which would mean that you had to study journalism. You would become a member of the press. With all that,
and you have to register to attend as well. I'm pretty sure.
Zero YouTube research here. You're not qualified if you've done your own YouTube research. I'm sorry. So anyway,
this guy, he starts asking dopey questions, right, that are not really relevant to the press conference, inevitably. And then she's like, all right, guys. She's like, sir, I'm sorry, this is not how that works. If you don't obviously I have to talk to the other people, and if you're going to get in the way, then we're going to have to move this. And he's like, but the Israel and the vaccine, and then she was like, okay, we got to go. And so she just took it inside. That's all it was. It wasn't really protest activity. It was one guy who apparently had already been warned in some way because he was posting pro-Christchurch terrorist stuff back in the day.
Cool. Good.
He's some sort of
reliable source.
And so he was asking annoying questions, and basically Jacinda had to take the thing inside because it was an outdoor press conference. And so she took it inside, and that was it. But of course, the way it's portrayed in the media is, heckler shuts down conference, protest activity. It's one fucking loony cunt.
Asking the hard questions that couldn't be answered, shuts down conference.
Yeah.
The media is afraid. The media, the media refuses to take a objective stance, as we can see from this specific thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's disappointing, and then more disappointing. Joe Rogan chimed in with his 2 cents on that one as well, who also completely obfuscated the actual thing that happened with his take on the thing that happened, his hot take, if you will.
I actually unfollowed him today.
After that,
Joe,
it wasn't you lost a loyal listener.
It wasn't.
Joe?
It wasn't. No, I'm gone now. No, that's it. Don't call me. No, look, but because I was like, okay, I feel like this guy's really high on his own fucking supply here. He's really blowing smoke up his own ass, and he's really he's not as cool and funny as he thinks he is. And so I was
high on his Spotify supply.
And so I was like, okay, the Jacinda thing, I was like, all right, I actually didn't watch it, to be fair. But I was just like, I'm kind of not that cool. I can't be bothered now with all these like kind of like anti-vax things and, just being edgy for the sake of being edgy is what it feels like to me. And I was like, you know what? I need a little break from you, Joe. So
it's very Howard Sternish, but also, what the criticism leveled at Joe Rogan now is that he was someone that was somewhat of a contrarian, but he was very articulate and well-spoken, and he would often bring a bunch of people on from both sides to have an interesting discussion about something. And I guess what people are sort of now accusing him of is that he is a little anti-vaxxy, anti-COVID-y, anti-this and that, and a little right-wingy, more so than he was once upon a time. And all those things now kind of pollute his discourse in a way that they did not used to. And so, and therefore he's become, and now, because also you have to remember that the original Joe Rogan was just a comedian talking with other comedians and other people and, having interesting discussions. Somewhere along the line, the cult of Joe Rogan began, and the cult of Joe Rogan is a huge, 100 million worldwide following. It's not a small thing.
Well, he's got 6 million followers on Facebook.
When you go from a podcaster to one of the most influential sort of hosts who podcasts, and you obviously have your own opinions about things and the way things should go, suddenly you're in a position to steer people towards whatever your sort of agenda is to some degree or another. And that, with great power comes great responsibility. And it might be fair to say that he is not he's not Spider-Man. He's Venom. All right?
Yeah. Well, my political agenda is, what is it? Gay space communists. I think that's my political agenda. Gay space communism, where everybody, we've got an egalitarian utopian society out in space, where resources and money are irrelevant because we can mine planets and so on. Yeah, gay space communism, I think is what they call it. It's something like that. That's me.
So Richard Lambeth, notorious right-wing Richard on the live
this is
stream.
it. Sorry, fully automated luxury gay space communism. That's my political identity. I'm a fully automated luxury gay space communist, as in those are all the things I want.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So Richard says that COVID is like It Follows. Let's have fun, but we're all getting it. It Follows is a very, I don't know if you've seen that, Harley, but it's a good horror film, a very good horror film, but it certainly has a additional meaning with the current situation that we're in. And Richard was saying, that, his sort of, one of his takes on it was that, the government has done a terrible job, and that of sort of handling this transition out.
Who has? Are we talking about a movie still?
No.
Are you talking about It
the
Follows?
government.
Okay, all right.
Of transitioning out of, from total, isolation to what are we going to do? How do we get all these vaccines? How do we get everyone vaccinated? What are the protocols? All that sort of thing, and the damage to businesses. And he said he would rather die and have, he said, take my life. He would rather die and have 20 small businesses not go out of business. And I said to that, don't sell yourself short, Richard. You're worth at least 25 businesses and maybe a couple of medium-sized businesses as well in exchange for your life.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like...
I didn't really say that. I don't think that he was really being super serious, but and I actually said your life is much more valuable than a business. Businesses can be rebuilt. You can start businesses again. Once you're dead, you're dead. And I do really sort of, that's what we're dealing with here in New Zealand in terms of like our approach to the virus. our government has clearly decided that they're prioritizing the minimization of death, which is good. However, that creates many other problems, economic, particularly because, places need to be open for the economy to function. And a lot of people are sort of getting the short end of the stick of, their grandma staying alive an extra 10 years because but their business is fucking crumbled to dust. So, that is a balance, because essentially we are now measuring human life. Like, what value is human life to you?
20 businesses.
How many? 20 businesses, Richard says. One life, one death is essentially worth 20 businesses. So, I'm not sure if that's a great metric. I would say no businesses, but, obviously that can't go on indefinitely either, and so this integration of COVID is what we're struggling with. It's sometimes people say it's art versus commerce. In this case, it's life versus commerce. So, what is the best strategy? We are sort of kind of erring on the, I guess, cautious side, or the let's really keep them deaths down as much as we can side, which has obviously seriously impacted our economy, and will continue to.
Well, when I saw that that comment from Richard saying that he would die for 20 businesses, the first thing I thought of was, well, how many McDonald's are there in New Zealand?
That's not. I think he said small businesses, to be fair. So he's not talking. He's not talking about the McDonald's in the Auckland CBD. He's talking more about the McDonald's, out in sort of, I don't know,
Pukekohe.
Probably, Pukekohe McDonald's.
The
so
Pukekohe
those,
McDonald's,
that's not okay. But for the bigger McDonald's, no.
No,
he's not really thinking of supporting them.
I was like, if 20 McDonald's franchises went out of business, as in franchisees, the companies, the people that are running these, these are independently run companies that are run under the McDonald's brand, but they're locally owned and operated. So Richard would give his life for 20 McDonald's franchises, 20 McDonald's restaurants, because each one is a business. Each one is an individual business. That's what it costs for Richard Lambeth's life. 20 McDonald's 20 McDonald's stores. He'd give it all up. He'd sacrifice himself for 20 McDonald's stores so that we can continue to enjoy McDonald's. So thank you for your sacrifice, Richard.
Thank you for your sacrifice, Richard. Six-pack of nuggets at the drive-thru. Thank God. Thank you.
Misery nuggets. Nuggets made from miserable chickens that were tortured their whole lives. Misery nuggets. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah. But lots of good discussion about that. I just thought that was a telling comment on I guess where he stands in his support of small businesses. That's for sure.
Yes, militant in the support of small business. He loves McDonald's. So in other news, it's sort of related in the sense that Richard Lambeth is an actor. I had an audition. And when I did, it was a self-tape. And let me just grab this note here. So I did a self-tape a little while back, and it was for an energy company. And this energy company required me to dress up in a bright blue, ridiculous outfit and do my audition. And I did not get that role. You shot it for me, but I did not get that role. However, they did like me, so they called me back recently to do another self-tape for a supporting role in the same series of ads, and it's a funny role as well. So I sent in my tape, and I should hear something in the next day or two. I can hear what you're listening to on air.
Well, it's not me. That's my girlfriend who is listening to the podcast. So it's a ghost in the machine.
I see.
It's a ghost in the machine. Richard says that at his fattest funeral, you can say, I guess heaven needed another champion of small businesses.
Yeah.
I also encourage people to follow Richard on Instagram. He's a hilarious follow on Instagram. He's putting his acting talents to good use in the Instagram Shorts section of his Instagram, or I guess Instagram Stories. Sorry, but they're always highly entertaining. So, yeah. Thank you, Richard.
Well,
appreciate you.
So I sent in a self-tape for that one, and I'm waiting to hear. But I'm also on hold for another ad, which is filming in January. And I mentioned that already, the role where I'm going to be wearing a dress on national television and showing off my hairy body. So I've been getting back in the ballet and yoga classes in preparation for that, as also mentioned in the previous episode. And also another little acting update. I can't confirm this yet, but I have it on good authority that Shortland Street is considering a drastic rebranding to Short Bald Street. Short Bald Street. They've asked me if I'm available for a guest role, and I've deigned to, firstly I deigned to respond, and that response was yes, please. And it's quite a funny little role as well, so I hope I get it, and I'd say that I'll probably hear something tomorrow. If it's happening, I would have either already heard or I'll hear tomorrow, because the rehearsal was on Tuesday. So
fucking just around the corner.
Yeah, oh no, if it's happening quick.
And you'll be
how
able
it is in showbiz, from zero to hero.
You'll be able to tell us about the COVID protocols on set.
I will.
And which ones you accidentally
violated.
breach.
Yeah. Which ones I violated.
Yeah. So speaking of that, you're potentially doing some filming. I am also doing some filming. So I'm going to be doing my first out of bubble filming during lockdown, level 3.3 or
3.
What we're at, 3.3.
We're at 3.3, yep.
We're at level 3.3 without traffic lights. So we're waiting for the traffic lights to kick in. Don't you hate it when you're at the intersection and you're just waiting on that traffic light? That's Auckland right now. Just sitting at that intersection going, when are you? Was it gonna? Oh, pedestrian! Fuck's sake.
The most annoying thing is when you're driving at night and you've stopped at a red light for no reason. Like there's no traffic anywhere, but you have stopped. Why have you stopped? Because you are domesticated. And you sit there at a red light at midnight with no traffic around, just waiting for this inanimate object to tell you it's okay to leave, to keep going on your journey. That's how you know you're a domesticated human. And yet, as I sit at the light, not running it, I feel great shame.
Yeah. Although if you chose to think about that just fractionally more, all those intersections have cameras on them.
Exactly,
so
that's what I'm saying.
By running a red light, it's not to do with like necessarily being domesticated. It's to do with like, well,
the fee, the potential fine.
That's why I don't want to get a fucking fine for it.
Yeah, the system. This the rules associated with the system. Another one of the system's rules.
So Tyler's vids mentions, don't forget to find out what camera Shortland Street uses. Good point, Tyler. Appreciate that. Although I don't fucking care what camera Shortland Street uses because it sucks.
What the camera does?
No, just in general.
That's not the right attitude.
Take that to the bank. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. So I'm expressing my freedom to choose to disrespect the quality of Shortland Street here on this podcast.
Formally distance myself from the comments of one guy in episode 223 of the Guy and Harley podcast. I personally see Shortland Street. It's an establishment. It's one of the pillars of New Zealand culture, and it's the greatest television show on New Zealand TV. And I would love to be involved.
I've been doing my research, Harley.
You've been doing your own
research on YouTube, and what I've discovered, if you watch clips of Shortland Street on YouTube, is that it definitely sucks. So I've done my own research. So well, it's 100% verified.
Our dear friend Joss, aka Susan from I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. I don't know if I should really be announcing this, but I happen to know that she will be appearing sometime very soon on Shortland Street at some point.
Very cool.
Yeah. So our dear friend Joss is going to be on there. So shout out to Joss. She's not listening, but shout out to her.
She never ever listens, nor will ever in the future. But shout out to Joss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
good for you.
Richard says there's some very good actors on it right now. Good for Harley. I hope you get it. Yeah. Look, I hope you get it too. And I definitely don't want to detract from the actors that are involved in Shortland Street. Many of those actors have been a part of our productions and are very talented. That's definitely not the issue. Is the talent involved is not the issue there. The issue is that they've been making a soap for 30 years. And at a certain point, look, even The Simpsons, by comparison, from when it began, is not as good. Now, unfortunately, Shortland Street didn't start off really good. So, whereas The Simpsons was a classic. But, whatever. You get my point.
I don't, though, because here's the big thing that you are neglecting to, take into consideration.
Fast turnaround TV?
Well, okay. Fast turnaround TV. Yes, that's a very good point. This is written and shot and edited in a real rush, and it's it's on a super deadline.
One takes only.
It's a hell of a achievement, is what it is. But also, with the reason why I am so grateful for Shortland Street and why I, don't
shit on it.
Because I don't watch it. Obviously, I don't watch it, but I don't.
Whoa,
shit on
if
it
you
like
think it's so great. Maybe you should start tuning in.
I don't shit on it.
What's
like
the problem,
you do.
Harley?
I don't have time, mate. If I'm
so
not
amazing,
I haven't even finished watching The Chair for Jason P. Diddy Combs. So Shortland Street's on the list, bro. I've only got 20 years, 30 years to catch up on because I've never really watched too much of it. But I don't shit on it because I realise that if you took Shortland Street away, the New Zealand television industry would completely die. Like, it is the only show that's really managed, apart from fucking Number 8 Wired, it's like the documentary show about farmers. It's only it's the only show that's like lasted for this long, and employed all of these people, and hopefully is going to employ me, and it's employed lots of people that I know. So I'm grateful for the existence of Shortland Street.
What you're really saying, translation, where your bread is buttered.
Hey, I know exactly where my bread is buttered.
So, So Tyler says that even he's had Shortland Street actors on his podcast bash the show. So if they can bash it, I feel like I can bash it. It's fine. They know what they're in for. They know they're there to do a job.
Shout out to Tyler's Vids, aka
they have a
Tyler,
particular set of skills.
Tyler, the website creator. Feel free to chuck your the link to your podcast in the chat there, Tyler, and maybe we'll plug people. We'll plug it for you. We'll tell people to go and check it out. But
yes, if you could find out what camera they're shooting on, please, that would be good.
Now, I will, and I'm also going to ask the makeup artist if she's using Mac or not, and I'll get a couple of pictures of the makeup artist's makeup as well. And
just stick to cameras. We can see it's a point of interest for our listeners as well.
What are you saying, that none of the listeners are interested in makeup?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Shout out to Joanna on the live stream, by the way. Shout out to Joanna who's tuning in. Shout out. And also shout out to Dottie Pie as well, who we also haven't acknowledged on the live stream. Shout out to you, Dottie Pie. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, so I got a little sidetracked there, but what I was going to say is I'm actually scheduled to do some filming in lockdown, not next week, but the beginning of the week after. So I think
level 3.2. You'll be in level 3.2.
Well, theoretically we might be, but we may just be exactly the same as we are right now.
Well, did you see that there was 200 cases yesterday, 209 cases or something, the most we've ever had? We've never cracked 200 before. Yesterday there was 200 cases, most of them in Auckland.
It's on the up and up. I do think
fucking walking past me and shit.
I think a couple of the interesting statistics that I thought was that the average age of the person with COVID this time round is 30.
Yeah.
So we know who's
those young
been,
whippersnappers.
it's the kids going out and having those crazy fuck parties.
Sex parties. All these sex parties. All the sex parties that these 30-year-olds are going to. These dirty 30s.
Luckily, as a sophisticated 38-year-old, I would never participate in such a thing. But
apart from maybe this Christmas.
And I'm morally appalled by these people who would value sex over the health of the nation.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
I did read an interesting headline that said that alongside, the COVID lockdowns had the positive side effect of also reducing STIs in the community. Because any STI that's contagious for a set period of time, like herpes or something like that, it's contagious at a certain period. So if you do a 4 or 6 week lockdown and people obviously are having way less sex and seeing way less of each other, not only is COVID, struggling to survive, but also other diseases are as well. So that's good news.
Yeah.
It's good news for the community of people who have sex parties. That's good.
But
that's good news.
It does appear...
COVID, hallowed be thy name.
Well, yes, but it does appear that essentially had New Zealand collectively managed to keep it in our pants, level 4 lockdown would have been much more successful.
Yeah, well, we are victims of our own success here.
And for all of those who, fought the good fight and remained celibate throughout, we're being punished. We're being punished.
That's me. I stayed celibate virtually for all of 2020, and I did it out of my love for New Zealand, my love for Aotearoa New Zealand, and for the love of my fellow citizens, and that is why I stayed celibate for the entirety of 2020 out of respect.
Even when there was no danger of COVID, you continued on.
It was a moral. It was a principle.
Kept going.
It was a choice on principle. Yeah, I kept going. And
pro-choice.
That's why I'm so upset at these fucking anti-vaxxers. Here I am. I went celibate for an entire year for you, for your benefit, fellow New Zealander. Yeah. And now, look at you. Fucking stayed here. You won't even get a vaccine for me. And do you know what's even worse, right? Is that I work... Here's all of my work. Virtually 100% of my work is film and live events, and AV associated with live events, or film and broadcasting associated with live events. So basically, in the film festival, which is also live events. So all of my work is either live broadcasting, sports, and other types of events, or it's holding and running events. So my entire lifeblood gets taken away with every lockdown. I can't do pretty much all of my work can't be done. And it's because of these virus-loving, anti-vax, self-centered anti-vax people, and after everything I did for them, all the celibacy.
Yeah, let's be real, the year of celibacy is not the first time, and it won't be the last.
It was the first time. Since I was 16. It's the first time. Never in my adult life. I had sex twice in 2020 on 2 occasions with the same one person. 2 occasions, one person. Okay, in all of 2020.
Thank you.
I just thought you guys should know. Now,
thank you for sharing.
That's never happened before. I'm hairy, I'm short, I'm bald, but I'm not twice a year short, hairy, and bald. I'm not that bad.
You're not incel level short,
I'm
hairy,
not
and
incel.
bald, except for that whole year.
For that entire year, yeah.
When you did deliver on that level of incel.
Well,
your level of incel, it was like a Super Saiyan. Your level of incel power went up. It jumped up to be the first short, bald Super Saiyan incel in over a year.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely involuntary.
Leveled up.
Yes. Celibacy. Involuntary celibacy. Incel. So, yes. Anyway, as you were saying about something, probably.
Yeah. So I'm doing some filming. I'm going to be having to uphold a bunch of COVID protocols, and actually, I'm filming a quite interesting. Well, it's a documentary series called The Digital Divide, and it's basically about people who are, or communities specifically, who are disconnected from society because of their lack of proficiency with technology and connection to the internet. And, what we're seeing is that, if that is not, if you're culturally, that is not something that you're heavily engaged with, you are at a huge disadvantage in your life now, and even more so with COVID.
Okay, so you are going to go and shoot this thing, or are you going to be directing it? Are you the camera operator?
I'm the camera operator. I will be credited as the camera operator for this one. I'll be sort of semi co-directing as well, but not really. I will be giving my 2 cents, but I will just essentially be filming it. And so, this will be my first very high-level lockdown shoot, where I've had to engage in all these different protocols, except the one that we did together the other night, which I imagine it will be kind of the same as that, which, is fucking annoying, really, is the way that these shoots go. Tyler on the live stream asks, what are your thoughts on the Eva 1? I'm planning on shooting with it soon.
And you can get into that long, boring camera rant in a second. But I'll also just say to Dottie Pie, all right, Dottie Pie, she's going to come back. She's going to come back in a little bit. She's got her dad here. That's great. But she also says that she would love to have a sex party, but she can't. I'm not sure why she can't, but she can't. So maybe we all need to get together and just have a big sex party. The Guy and Harley podcast sex party is what I was thinking we'd call it. And what we'll do is, if you can't make it, that's fine. We'll just Zoom you in. You can Zoom in, and what we'll do is we'll include your feed as, so we can see it. It'll be all part of it. We'll have a big sex party. So Dottie Pie, I want you to organise that and ask your dad about it too. Get him involved.
Sounds horrible. So my thoughts on the Eva 1. So the Eva 1 is a camera. It's quite a good camera. It has a pretty nice image. It's very flexible and versatile. It is not my favorite camera in terms of the look that it provides. I do feel like it's been superseded by some other types of cameras, and its sort of an ability to shoot in a raw format is also compromised its quality in terms of it being a camera that kind of lasts longer than its sort of very initial release. However, it is still a very good camera.
Did you say it can't shoot raw? Is that what you said?
That's right, can't shoot raw.
Shit!
Exactly. See, you acknowledge that as a computer,
even me,
a camera illiterate person.
This is the guy here. He says, I'm camera illiterate. I've literally been a professional camera operator, as in professional, as in getting paid to travel the world since I was 21, while this young man was being a security guard and a baggage handler. And the other day on the podcast, you said that Jared had taught you a trick, and you'd made a big whole YouTube video about it. The trick was, when you're doing focus, to focus on the eyes. That's the trick. And it's like, yeah, cool, mate. I learned that when I was 21 in Polytech. And then I went on to have a successful camera operating career. Traveled the world. It's
a shame you chose not to learn about any of the equipment that you operate.
Well, I don't need to. That's the thing. I don't need to, because I'm not trying to be a director of photography. This is not my goal, right? So, but to say that I'm camera illiterate
some people would say that a cameraman should know the types of cameras that he might use as a cameraman.
Yeah, sure. But
and have quite a wide, base of knowledge around cameras if you're going to be a cameraman.
But that's not really true. Like, if you just need to know about the cameras that you're using. So if you understand how they work, you understand where the front of the camera is and where the back of the camera is, you can really figure the rest out from there. And I do, and get paid to do it. So to suggest I'm camera illiterate when I have 10 years more experience with cameras than you is a bit much.
But I suppose when you say you got 10 years more experience. You've got 10 years more experience operating broadcast cameras.
Yeah, okay, but cameras are cameras, right? We're talking about cameras here. We're not specifying which kind of camera, and also to suggest that I should be a film camera operator. If you're essentially saying that because I do live broadcasts and live event camera operating work, and you're interested in film camera operating work, that it's somehow superior.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that my cameras do all types of different camera operating work, both film and broadcast. And so it would help as a cameraman to have a wide knowledge of these types of cameras.
And yet, here I am, and I demonstrably have earned more money than you as a camera operator. So really, who should be giving out advice? Who should be giving out advice? Stick with me, kids.
You could... I guess you could argue that for sure, but probably not in terms of day-to-day camera rates. So how much I would charge to do the job of a cameraman versus how much you would do to be a cameraman.
A large point of difference being your gear. You owning your gear, obviously you charge for your gear.
And also having the knowledge to operate those cameras that I taught myself. That you don't want to know anything about.
Who said I don't want to know anything about them? It's ridiculous.
Well, I keep asking you which cameras they're shooting on. You keep not checking or not caring or not looking into it at all.
If I'm on set to do one type of job, I don't walk in and go, right, what's somebody in a different department doing? What's their camera like? What's the makeup girl? What's the makeup has she got? I walk in there to be an actor,
it's the same department, though. Camera.
Yeah, but I don't walk in there to look at the lighting and the cameras and so on. I still do tend to notice that stuff, but I'm there to be an actor. I'm not there to go, all right, I'm going to go and disturb the DP. I'm going to go up and go, hi, my name's Harley. I'm one of the actors, but I'm also a producer, and I was wondering, what kind of camera have you got there? Oh, that's cool.
Because that information would be quite helpful to me in my job as a producer. So
all right,
I'd appreciate if you... would let me in on that so I can sort of make an assessment when I'm doing my future projects and the type of look that I might ascertain with this particular camera. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
You heard it here on the Guy and Harley podcast. If there's any actors out there that ever work on Pigville Productions shows, I want you to know, even though you're acting, you have every right to wander up to the DP and bother them and to ask them about the camera and stuff like that. That's the type of set we run.
I'd absolutely suggest that if you are also a cameraman and that you also produce things that require the hiring of cameras, that you would
go right ahead and be a pain in our ass.
Inquire on our shoot about what particular camera we're shooting on, so you can then make an informed decision on your own future projects. I would suggest, that's good advice, Harley.
Okay, so there you go, people. And I know Guy will get kind of a grumpy look on his face because he gets a bit grumpy when he's making movies and people get in the way. But don't worry, he on the inside he supports you and he wants you to ask more questions of the director of photography who's meant to be framing up a shot.
I think that's just part of the etiquette of set is choosing when to ask your questions.
Yeah,
and that is also a valuable lesson to learn.
Well, that's true. At least we can agree on
Tyler
that.
Adams, well, as a cameraman, Harley, would you like to weigh on the DJI Ronin 4D, as Tyler has asked here on the live stream?
No, well, I haven't had any reason to use that, have I? So I can't weigh in on it. I don't waste my time learning about things I'm not using. But if you were to tell me that next week I've got a shoot and I'm going to be using it, well, then obviously I'll be learning the shit out of the DJI Ronin 4D. Right? Like, that's how I roll. I work smart.
And I'm not sure, Giant Pumpkin, you said, who's that camera ideally for? Are you asking about the EVA 1 or are you asking about the DJI Ronin 4D? My answer to that is that it looks really interesting and like a valuable sort of accessory to other cameras. Essentially, the Ronin 4D is a camera that has a massive stabilizer built onto it, so you get these super steady shots all the time, and it sort of does the same as a Steadicam would on set. Now, it's much smaller than the Steadicam, it's cheaper than a Steadicam operator, and it takes a lot less time to set up. So using it in that context is really good, but I think they've overpriced it, and therefore it's like the cost of a whole camera, like a whole regular camera setup, except it only does one type of camera work. And that's a bit of a problem if you're thinking about looking to make a purchase and you go, well, I could get a camera that does every type of camera work, or I could buy this specific camera, which is very limited in the type of camera work I can do with it. And so they needed to either make it cheaper or sort of, I guess, give it more functionality to be sort of taking it off the gimbal and be used. But it is very interesting. I'd love to use it on a shoot. And I think that for hiring out or something, it would be pretty cool. So that's my answer to that. There you go, Tyler.
Dotty
Camera
Pie
talk,
on the live.
Yeah,
and our new segment, Camera Chat.
Camera Chat.
Our Dotty Pie on the live stream asks, as an actor, can I cry on the spot? Now, the answer to that is not on purpose, but I do occasionally burst into tears and storm off the set because I'm an emotional actor and I need to take some time in my trailer. But can I cry on the spot? Not exactly, but can I cry during acting? Yes, I can. The thing is, though, that I can only cry for sort of basically one take. You'll get one take with real tears, and then that's about it. So, and it'll be one of the early ones. It'll be the first or second take will be real tears, and then you're just going to have to cut around it after that. Cut around it or get the makeup person in. Drop some fake tear stuff on me.
Yes, it's quite hard to cry on command.
Well, especially because I'm not an emotional person anyway. I don't cry that often in my normal day-to-day life. You know, you go, well, imagine your dog dying. It's like, well, you can only imagine it so many times, and I've already cried about that. So, you really need to do trauma to me. If you want me to cry on set easily, you need to, really inflict some trauma upon me. You go, hey, Harley, you're short, bald, and a shit actor. Now get in front of the fucking camera. I'll
take that into account for the next emotional scene that you do.
Yeah.
When you need some direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So for me, in terms of crying on command, is like, yeah, I have to dig up a whole bunch of past traumas. It's definitely true that those have less. Like each time you do it, they're less impactful to try and sort of trigger an emotional response from a memory, because if you keep going back to that memory, at a certain point you go, yes, I've done that. I've thought about that in great detail, and it's very sad, and I've cried all I can about it.
Not to mention crying in your personal life already about it when you're not even in front of a camera. You've already, if you're casting your mind back to a traumatic experience, you've already somewhat processed that before you step on set. So you've already probably had a cry about it. If your dog died, you've probably had a cry about this already. So you're digging it up and repurposing it for the second or third time.
You're bastardizing your memories for the sake of a moment on screen and a false moment on screen, which is what I advocate. I like
to imagine my friends and loved ones being horribly tortured.
Yeah,
that way I cry.
I like to imagine,
I'm sad.
sitting at my parents' funeral, and
they listen.
Absolutely
too much,
destroyed.
Took it too far.
Not really.
Shout out to the peas.
I'm simply saying that would be an incredibly traumatic experience. Yeah. So I just try and put myself in that moment in time.
This is why actors get paid so much, because you're asking us to dig up our our worst emotions and put them on display.
Only if that's the technique that you use to get into that zone.
Generally speaking, that's not my technique. I find thinking about my dead dog quite distracting. Like I just look.
Yeah, that's true.
I just look at the the person I'm acting across from, and hopefully they're a good actor and they give me lots of energy and the appropriate energy, and then I just put on my sad voice, and I put on my sad face, and I cry about some stuff.
Yeah, sad face acting, total bullshit.
Oh no!
I can't believe it. You go. Oh, he's doing sad face again.
Oh.
He's doing sad face. Okay, he's not really going. That's good to see. He's not really going there for this one. So in this scene, he's not really going there. He's going to do sad face.
We don't go there for the wide.
Sad face.
We don't go there for the wide. You know,
we're in the close. We're in the close now. He's still doing sad face.
Well, that's why you've got to do the close first in that particular instance, in that particular case. If you want to get a tear out of me that's legit, you're better off to do the close first, because if you do the wide first, you're not even going to see the tear, right? So you do the close first because that's going to be the most impactful take, and then you get that insert, and then you do the wide and hope it matches.
So yeah, the either one. Back to camera talk.
Okay, we're going back to cameras.
Giant Pumpkin New Zealand asked, what would it be used for? Well, it's more of a, I guess, a filmmaking camera, but it could be used in sort of broadcast capacity because it has XLR inputs and stuff like that. I believe it has like time code out and all that sort of thing. So you could kind of use it for everything, but it's not something that has like, good autofocus, for example. If that was something.
Whoa. Why would you be using autofocus?
Well,
as a professional camera operator, as a director of photography, why would you be using the autofocus?
Well, the reason you use the autofocus is in a situation
documentary.
Where you couldn't manually, or you couldn't manually pull focus at the same time as the camera operation that you were doing.
Yeah.
For example, when you were flying on a gimbal or something like that.
Right.
But yes, and it can do raw output if you record externally, but that's just a hassle. So, but look, Tyler, it's an awesome camera. Like I certainly considered purchasing that camera when I was looking at big cameras to buy, but I just leaned a little heavier into, I guess, all film everything. So yeah, also. Stranger Things season 4 new trailer came out today. Tyler says I saw have you watched the other Stranger Things, Harley?
I wasn't really feeling it. Like basically I watched a few episodes of the first season.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, cool. I get it. Like it's the modern ET. It's cool, it's Cocoon. It's well, no, not Cocoon. Cocoon's better. It's
sort of, but yeah.
It's like it's what's that story with Samwise Gamgee in it from when he was a kid, and they go and find a dead body.
Goonies.
It's Goonies. It's a cool
Stand
story.
By Me. Which one are we talking about?
No, Goonies or Stand By Me, both of them, right? So it's a cool story and it's all good, but I am not the target demographic. I'm not a 13-year-old boy anymore. When I was a 13-year-old boy, I'm pretty sure that Stranger Things would be super cool. But for me, as a 38-year-old man, I'm like, yeah, cool. I need to see more blood and guts. I need to see more gritty, real life. Realism in my content, and so it can still be aliens, it can still be magical, but I just don't really resonate with 13-year-old protagonists. I'm like, cool, good for you guys, and I can see it's cool, but for me, I'm gonna go over here and do this. All right, I'll be watching Narcos, the new season. Narcos Mexico, new season.
To run a counter argument directly to that point you just made, it is actually directly appealing to 38-year-old people with the type of place that it's set in.
Because it's all retro and stuff. And I get it. I get the retro thing as well, the nostalgia thing. But again, I don't really look back on the 80s and 90s with a huge amount of nostalgia. I'm like, cool, yeah, they were fine. But I'm not like, I want to revisit it. I'm like, cool. I mean, I basically dress the same. I am revisiting it every day.
Yeah, so I am looking forward to season 4. I thought season 2 was terrible. Season 3 righted the ship, and season 4 could be really good. What struck me, and I didn't watch the whole trailer yet, but what struck me was that these are kids, or they're meant to be kids, taking place over the same time period, but it's now been, over the course of essentially, I guess, 5 years. And they've all sort of, gone from pre-adolescent teens to like teenagers. and how
it's Hollywood
dramatically some of
heartthrobs.
the, or not all of them, because that's the thing about being a kid. When you're a kid, generally speaking, not always, but even an ugly kid is kind of a cute kid. He's a little kid. He's a little fat kid. He's cute. He's a cute little pudgy kid. Now, when that pudgy kid grows up into a fat man, you don't go, oh, he's so cute. Look at that cute fat man there. He's so cute. He's just the cutest little bugger, isn't he? You just want to give him a hug. No, we go, he's disgusting. He's a fat man. What, why didn't he lose weight when he was a kid? And I think that there's...
Shout out to our fat male listeners.
Yeah, of course. And host, me.
We don't want to alienate 90% of our audience here.
But yeah, for me, but also, people's bone structures changes. Like someone who might have a normal sized nose gets an abnormally large nose, like all sorts of crazy things happen to kids' features. So you go from this, essentially a group of kids who were selected based on their look, like whatever that look was. You will now have all these teenagers who look potentially significantly different. And I really feel like they lucked out with the Harry Potter movies, that Harry stayed looking like Harry the whole fucking time. So you were like, look at him. He's fucking horrific now.
They all did though. They
got lucky.
Yeah.
Because
they got lucky several times.
Well, they got lucky that Daniel Radcliffe was a dwarf. And so when he didn't grow, that was actually really good for the movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, I definitely see some weird, some of those Stranger Things changes. Like, man, you guys aren't really kids anymore. This is a bit of a weird dynamic. But I haven't watched I've only seen a couple of stills from that, not the actual trailer. So
I'm so nervous. I'm gonna have my first pash with this girl, and I'm so nervous about it. Dude, you're 24 years old.
Dawson, you're a 24-year-old man. You're a 25-year-old man playing a 16-year-old. Like, look at your legs. They're so manly and hairy. But you're wearing cargo pants
it's
to give the illusion that you're 16.
It's comical, yeah.
Shout out to James Van Der Beek and his manly, absolutely not nerdy teenage legs that he was rocking throughout Dawson's Creek.
I have it on good authority that James Van Der Beek does actually listen to the Guy and Harley podcast. So shout out to James, Jim, as he likes me to call him. Shout out to Jim. Thank you, mate. We do appreciate that. And obviously Guy appreciates that, given what a huge fan he was back in the day. We've got a question here from Dottie Pie on the live stream. And she says, are there any new tattoos that we got? Because she just got a little flower on her hip. Flower, Flour, flower. And the answer to that is no. No, absolutely not. No new tattoos. We've been in lockdown for a very long time. I do want to get more tattoos. I have plans to get more tattoos, but in New Zealand they do cost, if you want decent ones and big ones, they're going to cost several $1,000s. So you do need to, factor that into your budgeting and so forth. And then, the other thing too is that obviously we've been in lockdown for so long that it's virtually impossible to get tattoos at the moment, unless I want the jailhouse variety. And I figure I'll just wait until I go to jail for those.
Well, yeah, so I've sort of gone off tattoos, to be honest, but not because I don't like tattoos or wouldn't like a few more. It's just that because tattoos have become so popular over the last sort of 10 or 15 years, they just keep getting more popular exponentially. So the demand, especially for a good tattoo artist, keeps growing. And so what you'll find is you'll find a good tattoo artist. You go, okay, this is the person I want to do this with because I love their art, I love their style. And you walk in, you go, yeah, I want to book an appointment with so-and-so. And they go, sweet as. We'll see you in half a year.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit of a wait list. Oh, and hey, that also will be $2,000 for that 2-hour session. He's in high or she's in high demand. And you go, well, okay, I guess. So you get your first one, and then they go, cool, we've done that 2-hour session. That'll be $2,000. Oh, come back in another 6 months to get this finished off. And you're like, wait, what? I want to get this finished off like when this heals. And they're like, no, sorry, you're back on the wait list, man. You can't jump ahead of the queue. Yeah. And so to me, that's I'm an impatient person. If I want something,
mental barrier. It's a big mental barrier.
But also, like, if you're going to go through that pain, you don't want the knowledge of that pain coming back again. Like in 6 months, you go half a year. I've got to think about this pain upcoming for half a year. You just want to smash it out and get it done.
You also can't. You can't wait that long. It's no good. Can't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah. So yes, Tyler, gear over tattoos. Well, yeah, for me, that's absolutely the way these days. And Great Pumpkin New Zealand says, when they cast multi-year productions with children, do you think they look into family genetics? Having someone that turns super ugly must be tough for them. It's a great question, actually. I'm sure that the thing is, a lot of these productions, they only think as far as the first season because they only know that they have a season. And so they're either going to get very lucky or not. But it is quite an interesting thing if you're being very strategic to go, hey, can we just have a chat to your mum and dad? Congratulations, got the role. Well, no, we just have a chat to your mum and dad first, actually. Yeah. And then based off then you go, you know what? Actually, we decided to go for someone else. And if you could send their mum and dad in with them now, please. They're in the waiting room. So
I saw your mum, and she looks like Lisa Simpson in that episode where they show what she's going to look like if she doesn't wear braces, and her teeth go up through her lip and out next to her eyeball and stuff like that. And we've opted not to cast you in this particular role. I'm sorry. Dottie Pie also mentions that the new Ghostbusters movie, is that the one with the women Ghostbusters? The new Ghostbusters movie was filmed not far from her house. So
she's
I'm
talking
sorry.
about Ghostbusters Afterlife, Harley.
Right.
Which you have no knowledge of whatsoever.
Absolutely not.
You love to sign out of, just like Stranger Things. You're signing out of that zeitgeist. You're signing out. You're not participating.
I'm not participating. Interested. I got shit to do.
Ghosts
is not on the agenda. Ghosts is not on the agenda for me. But I tell you what, I do feel sorry for Dottie Pie to hear about her haunted neighborhood. That's obviously very sad about all of the poltergeists
her
that
haunted
clearly
Walmart
have there.
where they filmed
the haunted Walmart.
But
Walmart is haunted with a lot of ghosts because like I was just reading actually through Hamish Gavin, who posted something on Facebook that there was a stampede at Walmart a few years back where these Black Friday shoppers were in a big massive rush to get into Walmart to buy their below average subpar goods. Consumerism literally costing lives, and there was a big stampede and people got killed. I mean, consumerism costs lives every day. That's obviously there's a slave somewhere that died today making the dye for my jeans, or the chip for my phone. But it's kind of crazy when you see it firsthand, where it's like literally the consumers are stomping over each other and killing each other in order to rush in and buy a fucking TV at 50% off, a TV which will rot their brain.
That's a significant amount of savings, Harley.
Well, only if you are invested in buying dumb shit. Like if it's really a big deal to you to buy a TV, then yeah, I guess it's a significant saving.
Well, come on, lockdown, primary source of entertainment, people.
To be fair, I mean this was pre-lockdown, but yeah, you're right.
This was pre-lockdown. So
although right that being said,
stampede people to death in lockdown to get a TV for lockdown.
No, you can stampede people to death, but only if it furthers your personal career goals and ambitions. But if it's for TV, if it's for mindless entertainment, I feel like it's less worthy. Like if you were stampeding people to get like a new camera, okay, all right, that makes sense to me. I can understand the logic, because if you don't get that camera first, then you can't make your living, okay? But if you're stampeding people to get into Walmart in order to buy a TV to go home and watch the news about how you stampeded somebody to death on your big screen TV, that's not on. Put your head in.
You're diminishing our art form. That's where people watch it.
Well, no. That's where people used to watch it. Now that, well, no. To be fair, I mean, you do watch from home. When I watch TV, I watch it on a big screen. But I honestly turn my TV on like once or twice a week. You know, if there's a brand new series of something I care about, I might turn it on once a day for a little while. At the end of the day, once I'm finished conquering the world, working, slaving away at the computer all day, trying to get that cheddar, sow those seeds to grow the dream.
Interesting. Giant Pumpkin NZ says Ghostbusters plus Hitler equals Harley all over it.
Well, the thing is, what do the Ghostbusters have to do with Hitler?
Just because we've been talking about Ghostbusters, you weren't even aware there was a new Ghostbusters movie, and that, you know, a significant, you know, again, a significant amount of people are talking about something that you have absolutely no clue about, and so you would be aware of it if it had anything to do with Hitler because of your love of Hitler.
Oh, I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't think that he thinks that I love Hitler.
He's saying that you would be all over that if it was Ghostbusters and Hitler combined.
Like if it was like World War II. So if it was World War II.
It was ghostbusting and Hitler involved.
Okay. So what you're saying is, if a movie came out that was about the Ghostbusters and they went back in time to April 1945 and they went to the Reichstag and Hitler got a gun and a cyanide capsule, and in the final moments of his life he ate the cyanide capsule and then blew his brains out in the Führer bunker, but the Ghostbusters had gone back in time, made their way past the Soviets, made their way past the German front lines, got into the most highly protected part of the Third Reich, made their way downstairs to Hitler's bunker, and then got their ghost-catching backpacks and caught Hitler's ghost. Would I watch that movie? Maybe. Probably not, to be honest.
I heard Hitler invited a lot of women into the Führer bunker.
I think that's probably not true, or it's like, as in they were like, you know, like secretaries and so forth. Like there was women that worked in the Führer bunker, but Hitler was notoriously kind of asexualish, you know, like he was not known, he didn't have a lot of mistresses, he wasn't like, he was not depraved and having lots of sex, and he basically had one mistress his entire life, Eva Braun, and then, well, I don't know about his entire life, but, you know, for his career there, and he married her like the day before they killed themselves. And but he mostly was not really about those worldly pleasures, you know. He wasn't like, he didn't have the grapes getting dangled into his mouth, and he wasn't living in luxury for the most part. He was just not really about that. He was ideologically driven, not sexually driven. He might have even been gay, I don't know. I read an article suggesting he had a micro penis.
Thank you for that, Harley. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, mate, that you don't know much about the greatest villain of all time. The most evil protagonist. The most evil
on Hitler's
protagonist.
Sexuality, because that's what we needed. We needed a deep dive on Hitler's sexuality on this fucking podcast. That's what everyone's been waiting for. The whole podcast.
Do you know what it's funny? Do you want to know what's funny? I never bring up Hitler, or not very often. It's always you bringing up Hitler. You're the one who brings up Hitler. I just don't agree with your sometimes your belief that I am a Hitler lover. This is outrageous.
My cavalier attitude towards Hitler.
Yes. It's outrageous. This is the greatest villain of all history, you know, virtually. Well, all modern history. The worst, most evil villain. But of course, you've got to be interested, right? Because he's the main character of World War II.
Yeah, only if you're interested in World War II.
Well, obviously, I'm interested in the greatest conflict in humanity's history, especially because it's recent. It's the biggest conflict in humanity's history, and by all measurements, it's the largest conflict ever. And it's in relatively recent times, and it directly affected the world we live in because it led directly to the Cold War, which led directly to where we are today. And so, obviously, as somebody who's interested in history, you can't really ignore World War II. And if you're interested in World War II, you can't ignore the main antagonist of this fucking, greatest conflict in history.
Okay.
Hey, don't bring up Hitler and not expect me to go on a rant, all right?
Tyler Adams says Ghostbusters vs. Hitler could be a good YouTube skit. Oh, he could well be.
I think you're right. Who's going to play Hitler?
Well, I feel like there's only one man with the credentials between the two of us, mate. So it's the role you're born to play.
The Führer. I am the Führer. Something like that?
Yeah, you got it. The same thing you've been the same thing you've been practicing in the mirror for the last 20 years.
And
role playing in the bedroom.
That is obviously ridiculous. I would never want Hitler to fuck me, and I don't want to fuck Hitler either. I am firmly anti-Hitler and all of his fascist beliefs. I'm what's known as Antifa. I'm anti-fascist. So, but you've got to know your enemy, right? If you think you don't need to know your enemy, then you're going to fail against your enemy.
You're absolutely right, Harley. He's not your enemy. He's been dead for 60 years.
Well, that's funny you would say
years.
that. Oh, it's funny you would say that, but the fascism that he birthed is still alive and well today. The Tiki Torch gang. The Tiki Torch gang in America.
It's gone for 70 years.
It's alive and well, and they're trying to revive it. The Fourth Reich. And I'll be right there on the front lines hurling Molotov cocktails at the Nazis because I know about the Nazis and understand them. I'm a powerful enemy to have for them.
You're a powerful reader of history books.
I am a powerful watcher of YouTube history videos. I watch history videos and I also listen to hardcore history podcasts.
Yeah, you're a powerful listener of podcasts.
Dan Carlin. Shout out to Dan Carlin. I know he listens as well. Yeah. So that's good. We've got a lot of comments to look back through there. Did I watch The Hunt with Al Pacino? So that's a question from Dottie Pie. Did I watch The Hunt? This is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
And so we obviously talking about films a lot. And did I watch The Hunt with Al Pacino? I don't believe I did. Have you seen it, Guy?
I have not. I have not seen any Al Pacino movies.
Oh, Guy hasn't seen it. This is something Guy hasn't seen. Oh, he's less worthy now.
Yeah, I mean,
Guy's seen everything.
I'm not sure that it was quite a collective zeitgeist style of film or show, but I believe that's the one where Al Pacino is hunting Nazis.
It's a 12 episode. I'll have you know,
he plays
Guy.
a famous. Yeah, well, get
that
out
it's
your
a
Google. What does it say in Wikipedia?
My fingers are everywhere. You can see my fingers directly, Dottie Pie.
Oh, close your eyes.
It's a 12 episode
close your
TV
eyes.
movie. It's a 12 episode TV movie. Okay, I happen to know it's a 12 episode TV movie that I think you should watch. Now, how can it be a 12 episode TV movie? Is it a TV show or is it a movie? If there's episodes, it's a TV show.
Well, I think what they mean is that it's I can't remember the term for it now, but it's essentially only meant to be one season. So it's a limited run TV show. So there's no, we're going to do 5 seasons of The Hunt. It's like, we're going to do one season and tell the story, kind of like Chernobyl.
Great show. So I did enjoy that show.
Limited series. So you should have known about that, Harley, because Dottie Pie is referring to something that is very close to your historical interests and
but this is a perfect example
that you would single out. So
this is a perfect
on your behalf.
This is a perfect proof. This is evidence that I don't care about Hitler. I don't watch all things related to Hitler and the Nazis. What I care about is World War II. No, well,
this
and
one
history.
is about. But this is about him hunting Nazis. So obviously you had no interest in that.
No, that's ridiculous. I really enjoyed.
You didn't really have much interest in that one.
The dirty. Oh fuck! What's it called? Brad Pitt and Quentin Tarantino. Oh fuck.
Inglourious Bastards.
Inglourious Bastards. That I enjoyed that. It's all about hunting Nazis. I fucking love it. I'm all about hunting those Nazis. Let's get those motherfuckers. But yeah, this is a prime example. And let's also talk about The Chair, because Jason P. Diddy Combs said that I should watch it, that we should both watch it on this show. He said we should watch it.
Yeah.
And it turns out that part of the reason why he thought I should watch it is because there's a Nazi-related angle. Now, I haven't finished watching the show, but, you know, like, this is not really a spoiler. You know, part of the show is that one of the people that works at a university gets in trouble with the woke lefty liberals because he does something related to Nazism, which is then taken out of context by somebody on their cell phone. They film him doing this thing, and then it becomes a big outrage. But for me, when I watched it, you know, I mean, I still don't really care, you know? So the idea that I'm only interested in things, or that I'm particularly interested in things that are to do with Hitler or the Nazis, is ridiculous. What I'm interested in, though, is the greatest conflict in humanity's history and how it has shaped our day-to-day life today. And so, obviously, you can't learn about World War II without also acknowledging and looking into the greatest antagonist of all of them, Herr Hitler.
I feel like you're really over-explaining your innocence a little bit.
Like I'm guilty.
Yeah. But we'll take these comments at face value.
Good idea.
But well, I think we should probably wrap things up because I've got a bunch of work to do.
All right. Well,
I'm teaching tomorrow.
It's going great though. It's a good show.
It's good. I've got marking to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you insist. If Guy wants to poop on the party, then shout out to the 8 listeners on the live stream. Fuck you guys.
Appreciate them.
Fuck you guys. Guys got to go.
Oh, look, man, I've got to make some.
He's got some
day job. The youth of tomorrow.
He's got some day job shit to do instead of chasing his dreams at the moment with this Guy and Harley podcast. So.
Oh well, you know, to be fair, teaching is a passion of mine.
Well, it's a new passion though. It's not the old passion. It's not the dream.
I would disagree with that. I've actually always enjoyed being asked to teach and speak about things that I have some knowledge on right from the beginning of my career as a filmmaker. And so if I can pass on those things to the next generation, that also is something that I enjoy.
All right.
I wouldn't say it's a newly adopted perspective. The only issue is that once upon a time I had all this knowledge to give and no one wanted to ask me anything about it. They didn't give a shit. They're like, who the fuck are you?
It's because you hadn't established yourself then.
Well, yeah. I mean,
now you've established yourself a lot more.
Making a feature film should establish oneself, I would argue.
I think you've overestimated how much the world gives a shit. You know, and that's maybe the problem is it's a big thing in our lives, but then to the outside world, they're like, cool, good for you.
I think I've overestimated how much the industry gives a shit.
Well, that too. The industry is full of people.
Would I not the world collectively? I know that the world outside of my niche doesn't care.
Shout out to Christopher Lucar on the live stream.
Teach us via this podcast.
This is the first time I've seen him tune in. Shout out to Chris Lucar. And also Dottie Pie would like it if I took my shirt off before we left. That's a relatively easy request. Can do that.
Now, I apologize to all the listeners on the live stream who are not Dotty Pie, who are quickly tuning out in rapid succession,
Shout
and
out
quickly
to the beer lover
unsubscribing,
listeners.
who are hastily unsubscribing. But that does just remind me of a funny story before we wrap things up. So Harley we were doing a podcast test, much like Harley was now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he had decided to have his top off like that, and was subjecting me to this visual. And his screen froze, as it sometimes does, on a Zoom call when the screen just freezes. And it happened to freeze frame him when he was looking incredibly ugly and fat. And this, brought me great joy to have this visual just frozen on my screen. So I took a screen grab of it. And I was like, this is hilarious. I'll just send this randomly to Harley at some point when I want to, make him depressed about himself. So I'll just keep that in my back pocket to drop on him at some point. Anyway, so I'd taken the screen grab, and then when I was teaching, as I do, I was scrolling through a bunch of different thumbnails. And I was saying, so this is the type of work that you would do here. This is the type of work that you would do with this one. And this is, and then I scrolled down one too many thumbnails.
This is at your class, right?
And came to the screen grab of this fat, bald, hairy guy staring at me, screen grab, frozen in time over Zoom, with no context whatsoever. Almost like I had a fat, hairy, bald guy fetish.
You're a beer lover. You're what's known as a beer lover.
And I'd been having a sex chat with this person. I'd liked it so much that I'd taken a screen grab of our discussion, and I'd kept that for later use.
Yeah.
And
future reference.
And so that just hit the thing. And there was really nothing, there was no context that I could give to this image or to it randomly popping up on my computer that I'm sharing with my whole class that really would have justified, because anything that I say at that point is could be taken with a grain of salt, even though, like, hey, if we do an investigation and we conduct an investigation of it, I will be proven not guilty. But in that moment,
there's no investigation.
There was no investigation. There was just pure judgment. And so essentially I just went like this. I went, oh, whoopsie daisy. Okay. That was not what we're looking for. And then I just kept going, and no one said anything, as you don't when you're made to. As you're made to feel incredibly uncomfortable. But essentially what that has left with them with is now this perception and impression of me as a human being and a person, and my sexual proclivities, which are unfounded, untrue. And yet that is, deep down in the back of their mind, they'll be like, hey, remember when
remember that guy is a beer lover? Guy's a beer lover.
Remember he shared that naked, because also the other thing was, Harley had his top off like this, right? Now, if I saw Harley sitting here, I wouldn't assume that he had pants on. I would probably assume he didn't have pants on.
I don't have pants on.
And so, again, it all just implicated me, much like in the chair. I was involved in this. It was kind of like exactly the similar scandal as he was, but fortunately no one complained, and I didn't have to sort of explain myself, because at the end of the day, my own sexual orientation and my own things that I do in my own time are my business, and people can't judge me as long as I'm still teaching well. So I just thought it was hilarious though that I did that. So that's a good story to finish things off on.
Well, good. I mean, I don't suppose you happen to have that image available and you could screen share it, because
let me see if I do.
While you do that, I will also just say that my investments recently have gone through the roof. I know I said the same thing last week, but they've really gone through the roof now. I'm now up. Okay. To set the scene, let's give a little bit of context here. I'm a uneducated, I have a polytech education. I have not studied business or finance or anything like that. I don't know shit about investing, and I'm not particularly interested in it. However, I did see that a lot of the rich people I know invest, and I thought, well, it can't be a coincidence, right? I'm a smart dude. If those rich people are doing it, it must be the thing that you do with money, right? So I began 3 years ago investing using Sharesies and Stake, and I just calculated this. I'm officially up $32,000 from investing, and not all of it is Tesla. Not all of it is Tesla. All of my investments are doing good. I'm up $32,000. So either making money on the stock market is incredibly easy, or I'm a financial genius. And I don't know which one it is. I'm going to let the listeners decide. Let us know in the comments below. Am I a financial genius, or am I just, I don't know. Is it just easy?
That's a good question.
Your Tesla must be doing much better now.
I should look at that again. Now
you might be rich. You might be able to retire, mate. If anybody would like to invest, there's links in the description. Use those links, and you will get a referral fee, and so will I. We'll both get free money if you use those links below.
So, okay, I'm sharing this image now.
Okay.
Which Harley is then going to share.
No. Oh, no. I'm not going to share it. I thought, I see what you're saying. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go.
This is the photo that popped up as I was teaching my class. Teaching my class about thumbnails and settings and backgrounds that you want to create around videoing yourself.
Yeah.
And this particular photo, this particular culprit came up.
Where the fuck am I? I'm in a hotel room. Oh, that's me in Japan. I'm in Japan. It was hot. It was literally, this was literally like fucking 35 or 40 degrees or something, humid as fuck, in Japan in summer. It was hot as hell. Of course I was going to be topless.
So that happened. That was a thing.
Look, I'd like to point out that
sharing that now.
Our fat listeners, full screen Harley, our fat listeners are very offended right now. I'm just going to get rid of that. Don't worry about that, guys. I'm just going to figure out. There we go. Yeah, so the fat listeners are offended, and a shout out to our fat listeners.
Yeah, well, you're one of us. That's all. So that's what I shared with the students. It was a complete accident. He looks like a financial genius to me, says Callum McDonald.
Shout out to Callum McDonald on the live stream. Looks like a financial genius to me. Hey, makes sense. Tyler Adams, he bought some Ethereum and is now looking into making NFTs. I've made an NFT, but I haven't sold it. And also, I'd just like to point out that I used my OnlyFans money to buy cryptocurrency, and that cryptocurrency has now gone up in value approximately 30%. So who's the fat hairy loser now?
Frozen on Zoom.
Who's the fat hairy loser now? Okay, I used my OnlyFans money to buy crypto, and now that money is making me money. So financial genius for sure. Tyler Adams does need to get on to all of this stuff. So yes. All right, well, cool. Okay, you got to go. All right, fuck it. We're having a good show, but I'm all out of notes,
but it has been two hours. So
it's been 2 hours.
We had a good run.
We just need to get our view time up. So if any of our listeners would like to help us, the best thing you can do, right, is go and watch a bunch of the old episodes on the Guy and Harley podcast YouTube channel. That really helps us, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our view time up. So if you go along, there's a playlist there. You go to our channel and you hit playlists, and there's a playlist there called Every Episode of the Guy and Harley podcast. You click on that, hit play. say watch as many as you can handle, because that really helps us, because we're trying to get this channel monetized. If we could get this channel monetized, and if we ended up making $100 a week or $200 a week to do this show, that would obviously, make it a lot easier and encourage us to, create more content. So please do go along to our YouTube channel and watch our videos, because we really would like to get this stuff monetized. And so thank you for watching. The main thing that you guys can do to support us, and the rest of our listeners, the best thing you can do is show up and watch the show. So thank you so much for watching, because that's really the main kind of way you can support us. But there's also patreon.com/Pigville. There's facebook.com/Guy and Harley. And if you would like to be the official sponsor of episode 224, the next episode of the Guy and Harley podcast, all you've got to do is go to paypal.com, use the email address pigvilleproductions@gmail.com. You can make a one-off donation to us for $20 or $30 or whatever you want, or $5, whatever you want to put towards the beers for the next episode. If you put money in there, we will officially name you, shout you out as the official sponsor, and we will drink those drinks that you bought for us live on the show. So please do consider doing that. Other than that, we will of course be back 5 p.m. New Zealand Daylight Saving Time every Sunday, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, also we do definitely appreciate the live stream listeners, because we are on lockdown, so we've got
nothing to talk about.
So when we get some interaction with everybody, that's really cool. Because otherwise they're going to start being short shows pretty soon. Although we keep saying that, but
we've said that for years, and we've done like virtually 1 or 2 shows that are below 1 hour.
That's true.
Because it's something we're good at, sitting and talking.
Sitting and talking shit.
Yeah, sitting and talking shitting. All right, let's go. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you guys all next week. I'm going to put the holding screen up, and then my plan is to try and play the outro music, and it probably won't work. We will see you next week.
See you later.